On this edition of Southern Newsweek, Otago researchers have discovered the hormone which can make some males better dads. General practice nurses hold strike action asking for pay parity with hospital nurses, and groups of South Otago high school pupils are receiving carving lessons from a master. Kia ora, I'm Melissa Barton. University of Otago researchers have found that male mice become better fathers when given the hormone prolactin, which promotes lactation in females. Researchers hope the finding will help them to understand why prolactin is released in new human fathers.
It seems these days fathers of newborn babies can be forgiven for feeling a little hormonal, following an Otago University study on mice.
So basically we're trying to see how hormones affect dads, and if it's the same hormones that affect moms, if they also affect dads.
Research fellow at the Centre for Neuroendocrinology, Dr. Christina Smiley, says about 20 mice were studied over a period between 2 and 4 years.
So basically we did a couple different things. One, we blocked the hormone from entering the blood system, and two, we prevented prolactin from being able to act in the brain. And if we did either of those things, the dads basically ignored their babies. So they were taking care of them as good dads with high prolactin, and when we suppressed that prolactin, they stopped taking care of their young.
Research showed the brains of male mice who are fathers are being flooded by the same chemical as breastfeeding mothers, prolactin. The research is a one-way street for the mice, as their brains can only be studied post-mortem through a microscope.
We have to confirm that all of our treatments are working in the brain, and so we have to look at it at the end. Yeah.
In male human parents, prolactin rises pre-birth and during parenting activities such as holding their child. Dr. Smiley is unsure what gives some human males more prolactin than others.
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there is variation in prolactin levels, and we don't know if that for sure causes differences in parental care, but it might. And that's really an open question. We don't really know.
The research has been published in the leading academic journal, Cell. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Nurses from GP clinics and medical centre workers took their call for pay parity to southern streets recently. The strike by New Zealand Nurses Organisation members called for equal pay with their colleagues working for the District Health Board.
Nurses from doctors' clinics and medical centres across the south went on strike yesterday, taking to the streets demanding the same pay as the nurses who work for the District Health Board.
What we want to do is raise awareness of how cheated we feel and the work we do.
Practice nurse Teresa Wezaleska says they've received very positive public support in their demands for pay parity.
It's actually great to hear the number of people tooting. I didn't feel that noise pollution was a good way to do it, but actually it's really lovely to hear the support.
And she says going on strike is very much a last resort.
I have been a nurse now since 1970. I have voted not to strike on many occasions, and I have always felt there's other ways to do the negotiating and respect our profession. And I think it's a very sad comment that we have come to this stage of having to strike to make everybody, not just government, but also the public, aware of the work we do and the fact that we are of equal value to our hospital colleagues.
Strike action includes technicians from the Southern Community Laboratories downing their pipettes and test tubes today for 24 hours. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Multi-award-winning Australian-based Dunedin musician Matt Joe Gow is currently holed up in Christchurch's managed isolation hotel. The Auckland-born songwriter is on his way to see family in Dunedin and describes what life is like in solo quarantine for 14 days.
Life behind bars and a blackout screen. Australian-based Dunedin songwriter Matt Joe Gow is in managed isolation at Christchurch's Distinction Hotel.
I did have the day 3 test, yeah, and I think I have a day 10 test as well, so that was negative, which was good, and hopefully the next one will be negative and I can get out on day 14.
Gow was on his way to see family in Dunedin and caught up over Zoom from his room overlooking central Christchurch. He's philosophical about being cooped up alone for 14 days.
I kind of came in knowing that obviously I'd have the 14 days, so I planned to try and get some work done and record some stuff. So it's been okay for me.
Like many other musicians, he was scheduled to be touring internationally, but understands international travel and playing to large crowds isn't safe. Also, he needs to be near family right now.
My mum's not very well, unfortunately. So family first, and I wanted to come and help out. So, which has been really difficult to get back. Trying to get back for the last couple months.
Like many people trying to return to their country of origin, he says getting flights has been a trying experience.
I had to spend a day in Hong Kong in the airport, and then Auckland, and then we flew down to Christchurch. So, yeah.
People in managed isolation are delivered meals to their doors, and Gao says it's better than airline food.
You know, it's not bad food, but it's not probably what I would usually eat. I mean, I've been living in Asia for a few months, so it's just pretty different.
Like many musicians, Gao has been working on music through lockdown, and like his peers, plans to perform a live stream concert, playing live from his quarantine room to his Facebook page this Friday from 9:30 p.m. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Pupils at Tokomairero High School are being given the opportunity to learn whakairo or traditional Māori wood carving. It's a new course at the Southern Wānanga, giving learners an insight into te ao Māori.
Giving a masterclass in whakairo or traditional Māori wood carving, Kaiako Ben Whittaker enjoys sharing knowledge he's gained through lived experience and studies at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa.
Whakairo is breakdown of two words, whakairo, which means to be like the worm, and eat the wood. But we're learning about the different patterns, the different meanings, cultural storytelling, keeping those stories alive, the connections to te ao Māori.
Your Waka-based tutor says people are discovering the Māori worldview or te ao Māori, making it more than just chipping away at wood, with designs connecting tamariki to their past.
And show my family, and they'll also show my family on it, and I'll be able to show my cousins and that they're in it too.
I wanted to put some Māori patterns and what we've learned here in this carving class in our artwork, so yeah, to make perfect art.
The courses run through the third and fourth terms, and Whittaker says the two classes of young and older students he's working with are taking to it very well.
Really finding the junior group of boys who are predominantly Māori are really sort of getting into some of those key cultural concepts, the deeper understandings that lie behind the carving.
He says the pupils are producing a variety of items, from small handheld clubs or patu to mallets, which they can then use for their own carving in years to come. In Tokomairero, the South Today.
Still to come on this edition of Southern Newsweek, overseas school pupils trapped in Dunedin by COVID-19 are now facing Christmas in Dunedin too. And Dunedin's largest construction project is flying the flag for suicide awareness. So catch this and more after the break. Welcome back. Around 35 Otago girls' high school pupils, get that right, wrong thing, take two. Welcome back. Around 35 Otago girls' high pupils from overseas are unlikely to get home for Christmas this year, while overseas borders remain closed. The school's principal says it's been a long time away from their family.
These are just 3 of about 35 overseas pupils studying at Otago Girls High School while New Zealand's borders remain closed due to COVID-19.
It's challenging for all students, but for international students who are a long way from home, it's even more challenging. So some of these students won't see their parents. You know, they went home at Christmas time, Christmas 2019. They're not going to get home this Christmas. It may be the following Christmas. So, you know, in a young person's life, if you're 14, 15 years old, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, because like we normally go home once a year and like we miss that opportunity and we don't know if like when the border gonna open and when we can visit our family back home.
Otago Girls High School Principal Linda Miller says there's now plans afoot to make sure stranded students across Dunedin can take part in organised social activities over the summer holidays.
It's providing that wraparound for them, but it's also an opportunity to show what Dunedin has to offer in terms of the range of experiences and the quality of pastoral care that we offer to our international students.
But it's going to be more than just fun activities over the summer, as the University of Otago Language Centre will be offering daily English classes to the pupils and perhaps tempt them to consider Dunedin for their tertiary education as well.
Give them a head start, to give them advantages in terms of their English language learning and connection with potentially workplaces or volunteer opportunities that may lead on to other opportunities later.
And Year 11 pupil Christine Hu says she's also hoping to work as a volunteer during her summer in Dunedin.
I will do some volunteer job because I want to find a job, part-time job next year, year 12, because year 11 we can't do it. And I may find some part-time job and I need some experience. And I think volunteer is a very good choice for me, so I think I will do some volunteer.
Well over 1,000 overseas secondary and tertiary education students are thought to be living in Dunedin at the moment. In Dunedin, the South Today.
The new Dunedin Hospital project has a close connection with Mates in Construction New Zealand, the organisation dedicated to raising awareness around mental health and suicide prevention within the construction industry. Workers took time out to have a shared lunch after unfurling a flag on the hospital work site.
Flying the flag for suicide awareness. Demolition work paused at the former Cadbury factory site at lunchtime as a flag was unfurled, encouraging workers to seek help when needed.
Especially like this at this time of moment, you know, the flag has our number and it's just giving them that option once again. You know, we've got to try and get our men talking as much as we can in a more supportive way. You know, if they're not talking to their mates, then hopefully they can talk to someone at Mates.
Mates in Construction Field Officer Slade McFarlane says although the number of people taking their own lives has dropped, men are still overrepresented in the figures.
You know, when you look at the numbers of 471 versus 183, that's men versus women, we're 3 to 1. But then when you take it in a calendar year, when there's 365 days of the year, well, you do the maths, that's pretty much 1.5 people or men each day.
In July, the Provincial Growth Fund promised nearly $2 million to help establish a construction industry jobs hub in Dunedin, and the result is Workforce Central Dunedin, who are providing and upskilling workers on the site. And their general manager says the organisation is proud to be working with Mates in Construction.
Being involved in Mates in Construction is massive for Workforce Central. We're heavily supportive of Mates in Construction and the message they're trying to put out there. We lose far too many people to suicide in the construction sector, so anything we can do to support this is a big win for us.
Earlier this year, the new Dunedin Hospital project hosted a Mates in Construction general awareness training session for local workers and project staff. And Workforce Central says there will be job opportunities at the project.
I mean, this is a big opportunity for anybody in Dunedin. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for people looking for work as well as people looking to upskill themselves and gain qualifications.
Fly the Flag is a nationwide initiative with more than 200 construction sites around the country flying the Mates flag, showing their support of suicide prevention in the industry. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A Queenstown bartender of Finnish descent has been overwhelmed by the community support she's received after she had to undergo urgent heart surgery following a stroke. She's just started easing back into work after 3 months recuperating.
25-year-old Essie Letonen has been working at the Frankton Arms Tavern for several years, but she's been off work since May when she had a stroke, causing her to lose sight in one eye and needing urgent heart surgery. The Queenstown community has rallied around the Finnish national to raise a whopping $22,000 to help her with various bills.
So many new faces just coming out who've known Essie over the last 5 or odd years, so just fantastic. We did some raffles, giveaways, and it just all came together. It was unbelievable.
And the support from locals has left her almost speechless.
Oh, fantastic. I can't really even find any words to say thank you everyone, but yeah.
Essie's just starting to ease back into work, and her boss Justin Fenton says he's very happy to have her back.
We've kept her on as an employee. She's a massive asset to our business. You can't teach a smile like Essie, it's infectious, and the community that's come in here can all tell you the same as well. It's just, that smile is just unbelievable. So yeah, we've just kept her on. We're going to help her through this, stick together as a family, as we should.
Yeah, it's been good. It's only, I'm not really doing big days, but it's nice to get back slowly, and it's going to be a big, long recovery, but I'll get there.
In Queenstown, the South today.
A Dunedin couple recently took their sailing yacht out for a spin in Dunedin's harbour. The couple are now in their 90s and have been sailing by themselves much of their adult life with no signs of slowing down.
Bill McIndoe and his wife Margaret went on a cruise on their sailing yacht Avanti recently as a way of celebrating Bill's 92nd birthday. He's a bit of an old sea dog, having owned one sailing boat or another his whole life.
I built a yacht when I was 16. It wasn't a very good yacht, but all the men, my father and my elder brother, were away at the war, so if you wanted a boat, you bloody built it. And since then I've had a boat all my life. And this is the 7th boat I've owned. I can see the P-class in that if you look hard enough.
He joined the Royal New Zealand Navy in 1946 and was navigating officer on a New Zealand frigate in the 1950s during the Korean War. After he left the Navy, the couple have done several voyages exploring the Pacific.
Margaret and I have sailed from here to Auckland and then on to Fiji. And by the way, when you get to Auckland, you're halfway to Fiji. People don't realise that, do they?
They've also sailed to Australia, done a 9-month trip to Tonga, and extensive exploration of New Zealand's bays and coves.
We've done 28 voyages from here to Nelson, Abel Tasman National Park, Marlborough Sounds, and we've been twice round to the Southern Sounds, and a few other small trips.
So far, they have no plans of retiring from their hobby of sailing the sea. In Dunedin, the South today.
After the break on this edition of Southern Newsweek, an All Ability Sports Day celebrates diverse skill levels in Dunedin, and a Bannockburn couple are concerned for a stand of non-native trees when they're not able to look out for them. So see you after the break. Thanks for staying with us. A Bannockburn couple are trying to protect a small plantation of non-native trees in nearby Bendigo. Started by the Ministry of Works in the 1970s, the scientific planting includes many valuable and unique exotic species.
Botanical scientists John and Gillian McLaren are worried about the future of this small plantation of hardy exotic trees on the hills at Bendigo near Cromwell. Including eucalypts, wattles, saltbush and mountain mahogany, these were first planted here in 1972 as a scientific trial to identify hardy trees suitable for planting elsewhere in New Zealand.
There are eucalyptus and wattles in here that are really interesting because they have survived all those years without any irrigation, and they've had a pretty tough time looking straight at the mountains around here and the wind.
Many of the trees are probably the only examples of their species in the country, and the couple, who are well known for their work developing apple and apricot varieties, say these tree species, many of which are nitrogen fixing, are too valuable to be ignored.
Some of them are very suitable for shelter. They're leguminous plants, particularly not the eucalyptus but the acacias, which means that they can be planted right up to the edge of horticultural crops. They need a bit of trimming at their early age, but they are very symbiotic with horticultural crops.
Part of the scientific planting has already been bowled over to make way for a vineyard, and the couple have failed in getting a QE2 covenant to protect what remains. They say they're running out of options to save the unique species.
We are very close to the dock reserve, and of course the dock are not interested in it because it's not native.
There's nobody to carry it on. Whether we could get some local interest in it, we should. I think we might get some backing if we can publicise it a bit more.
Fossil evidence shows eucalypts were once native to New Zealand 23 million years ago, when the world was warmer and forests extended all the way to the Antarctic and Arctic regions. In Bendigo, the South today.
The Otago All Abilities Sports Day has been held in Dunedin. The event gives young people with physical, visual and hearing impairments an opportunity to try a range of sports.
Organised by the Halberg Foundation, the Otago All Abilities Sports Day is a chance for kids to try out a smorgasbord of different sports, including walking ripper rugby, tabletop cricket and adaptive football. Lead advisor of the foundation, Bridget Meyer, says they work towards enhancing the lives of physically disabled young people.
So today's all about, it's called an Everybody In Day, so it was an opportunity to come together. Obviously we haven't seen a lot of these guys this year just because of the situation that we all find ourselves in. So we've got 3 sports codes that have come along to join us: Otago Rugby, Football South and Otago Cricket.
To introduce them to the sport, each code does an hour-long session.
Well, just to have a go and introduce themselves to the sport and introduce themselves to the coaches so that if they want to carry on, then they've got a nice connection has been made.
Maya says they are big on collaborating with coaches of different sports.
If we've got a sport that wants to find ways to include young people with impairments into the work that they do, then we'll work with that club and we'll train their coaches up and sort of educate them on how they can do inclusive activities.
Maya says despite things being uncertain, they always have plans for future sports days. In Dunedin, the South today.
When 11-year-old Charlie Stevenson was diagnosed with a heart condition 2 months ago, he was told to avoid any activities which might raise his heart rate. While he waits for surgery in Auckland, he's been keeping himself busy at home baking biscuits as a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital he's set to stay at.
While 11-year-old Charlie Stevenson waits around home before his heart surgery at Starship Children's Hospital in Auckland, he and his mother are busy baking chocolate chip cookies as a fundraiser. And so far they've raised over $6,000 for Starship Hospital.
Yeah, so we've just been blown away by the amount of support that we've had. Initially, Charlie, how much money did you reckon that we might be able to raise when we first started?
$500. Then we thought we could do better, and we said $1,000.
Charlie admits the money raised could buy him a good number of milkshake machines, but he's determined every penny will go towards the hospital.
Just because it's a good cause to raise money for Starship.
Because Charlie's gluten intolerant, he can't taste any of the biscuits he's making, but he says there's plenty of other people around the house who can check the quality of his baking.
My brothers and dad taste them.
Bake It Better for Starship is an annual campaign, now in its second year, raising funds to support children from around New Zealand who need specialist care. In Dunedin, the South today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz or follow us on Facebook or YouTube. Have a wonderful evening. Ka kite anō.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.